A Marine stationed at 29 Palms has broken his silence about a UFO encounter during the 1997 Phoenix Lights incident. Roderick Castle recently contacted whistleblower David Grusch and met with Congressman Eric Burlison and Steven Greer to reveal what he witnessed in the California desert. What Castle experienced aligns with findings from MUFON investigators and 25 years of research showing these encounters may not be extraterrestrial at all, but something far more ancient and spiritual in nature. Hey ufologers, I'm Cristina Gomez, and welcome to this episode of UFO News Updates. Roderick Castle was a Marine stationed at 29 Palms Marine Base in California when in 1997 he witnessed something that would change his understanding of reality. The Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center at 29 Palms covers over 1,100 square miles of high desert and serves as the world's largest marine training facility. On the same night as the famous Phoenix Light incident, March 13, 1997, Castle and his team were on an overnight crash retrieval duty when they encountered an unidentified craft. As mentioned in a tweet by Steven Diener, it states, "Below it were unmarked black tactical vehicles and a unit of heavily armed men in black, unmarked uniforms, not part of any known branch of the U.S. military. Despite being on U.S. soil and in uniform, my team was outnumbered, disarmed, and detained at gunpoint, threatened and orders to reveal silent with heads down. The craft emitted no detectable sound, had no obvious exhaust ports, and after approximately 2 minutes, flew at an extremely high rate of speed to the northeast." And Castle describes witnessing a 300-foot equilateral triangle craft hovering about 150 to 200 feet above the desert terrain. Following the incident, his team experienced equipment failures, psychological shock, and subjected to an unscheduled anthrax vaccine booster. If you enjoy UFO news, updates, case studies, and interviews, then I think you will like this channel. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this episode with those you want to keep in the know with the latest UFO news. The Phoenix Light incident remains one of the most documented UFO events in history. Thousands of witnesses across Arizona reported seeing V-shaped formations of light moving silently across the night sky. And the official explanation attributes these sightings to military aircraft and flares from training exercises at the Barry Goldwater Range. However, Castle's testimony adds new dimension to that night's events. His encounter occurred during the same time frame, in the same general region, and involved apparent military or government personnel operating outside normal command structures. Castle has since been in direct contact with David Grusch, and he was recently invited to Washington, D.C. to meet with Congressman Eric Burlison along with other witnesses. Strange, right? And then Gary Bates, a researcher who gave a recent interview with Creation Ministries International, spent 25 years investigating alien abduction cases and discovered patterns that I think really challenge conventional UFO theories. Bates' research began as an examination on how science fiction narratives promote evolutionary concepts, but evolved into something far more complex when he encountered documented cases where these experiences stopped immediately under very specific circumstances.
My dogs were barking very, very loudly in the back, and I'd get up and I'd go over and I'd open up the window, which was next to the bed, and I would tell them to be quiet, and they'd quiet down. I'd go lay down in bed again. They'd start barking again. I did the same thing. I did that several times. I remember the last time that I did it, I went and I lay down, and it was almost instantly I became paralyzed. I could not move. I could not see anything but gray. And all of a sudden it felt like that something or someone had put some pole right up my rectum and was holding me on that pole. And the entity, or whatever it was that was doing this to me, was laughing like it was pleasurable, or they were laughing at me, and I was so afraid. I didn't know what to do. And I can't remember whether I said, Jesus, 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 or Jesus help me, Jesus help me. But at that instant, my experience stopped. And I distinctly heard these entities squeal in pain, and I hit the bed. I was literally thrown into the bed, which woke my wife up, and she asked me what I was doing jumping on the bed.
This testimony from experiencer Bill represents a pattern Bates documented across hundreds of similar accounts where evoking the name of Jesus Christ had immediate effect on these encounters. Bates identified what researchers call classic abduction syndrome, a phenomenon following predictable stages. Initial capture with missing time, hypnotic regression revealing medical examinations aboard a spacecraft, encounters with beings delivering religious messages, and return with suppressed memories. And MUFON investigators Joe Jordan and Wes Clark were studying abduction cases in Florida when they noticed an unusual pattern. Christians appeared to be exempt from abduction experiences, and their investigation revealed over 400 documented cases where evoking Jesus' name ended alien abduction experiences. And when Jordan contacted other MUFON researchers about this finding, their response was dismissive of, yeah, we already know that, so aliens don't like Christians, big deal. But Jordan and Clark's investigation led them to conclude they were documenting spiritual phenomena rather than extraterrestrial encounters. And then you have Professor Diana Pasulka of the University of North Carolina made a startling discovery while researching Catholic history. As a practicing Catholic and professor of religious studies, Pasulka was studying historical accounts of souls ascending to heaven when she uncovered something totally unexpected in thousand-year-old Catholic archives. Here's what she said in a recent interview with Ross Douthat from Interesting Times for the New York Times.
So in the 1800s, there's this young nun, and she's living in a convent. And every night, this ball of light comes through her cell, and she's pretty upset about this. So she tells the Mother Superior, and she says, this is happening. And the Mother Superior says, you're having a bad dream. And so the nun is pretty certain this is happening, and happens nightly. And so at one point, the Mother Superior says, okay, I'm going to be with you at night to see what's going on. And they determine that this is a soul from purgatory that needs to be prayed back into purgatory. So the whole convent gets together, and they go through a process of prayers to, kick this orb or this flame of light out of her cell. So these kinds of things I saw, and I started to keep track of them. Sometimes they were interpreted as flying houses. Sometimes they were interpreted as little beings, about 3 feet tall and shiny. And I shared this with a couple friends of mine, and I said, what do you all think of this? And one of them said, it looks like modern day reports of UFOs.
What makes Pasulka's findings so compelling is that these historical cases were resolved through traditional religious practices. When nuns experienced these phenomena, Mother Superiors would organize coven-wide prayer sessions to remove the entities. Catholic priests performing exorcisms successfully ended the hitchhiker effects for modern experiencers. Then UFO researcher John Keel, author of the Mothman Prophecies, reached similar conclusions through historical analysis. And Keel documented that contemporary UFO encounters match historical accounts of spiritual manifestations throughout recorded history.
John Keel, and we featured him in the movie. He said this, and this blew me away. He said, the devil and his demons can, according to the literature, manifest themselves in almost any form and can physically imitate anything from angels to horrifying monsters with glowing eyes. Strange objects and entities materialize and dematerialize in these stories, just as the UFOs and their splendid occupants appear, disappear, walk through walls, and perform other supernatural feats. So Keel's research, he realized this had been happening for as long as we have written records.
And, controversially, individuals with strong biblical worldwide view who understand spiritual warfare principles rarely report abduction experiences. When such encounters do occur with committed Christians, they typically end immediately when experiencers evoke Christ's authority. And this pattern suggests the protection from these phenomena may be available through spiritual practices rather than technological defenses. Castle's courage in coming forward, despite potential career consequences, demonstrates the importance of examining all evidence, including evidence that challenges our fundamental assumptions about the UFO phenomenon. What do you think about the latest UFO whistleblower coming forward and this connection between religion and UFOs? Let me know in the comments below. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.
If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.